advocates for better health, financial security, and strong communities. More at aarp.org/MA. You're watching New England Public Media on WGBY Springfield.
The Social Security Act of 1935 is passed.
A Saturday night tradition returns to NEPM.
Yes, you're correct.
Play along with us during the new season of Ask School Smatch Wits,
We'll take world events.
premiering January 7th on NEPM or stream anytime at nepm.org. Connecting Point on NEPM is brought to you by Berkshire Museum, presenting Winter Festival Solstice Celebration, featuring Santa Classics by Philadelphia-based artist Ed Wheeler and Hoots Holiday, an immersive Berkshire storybook experience. More information at berkshiremuseum.org.
Coming up, we're connecting you with the creativity and culture in your community, including a luthier with a love of electric guitars.
Milling a piece of wood, preparing a surface for glue up, doing all those small measurements to put something together that then has a function in the end.
The Eric Carle Museum celebrates 20 years.
He transformed a book that also became somewhat of a toy. It was something that had tactile elements that children could really explore and play with.
And we'll visit a local beverage co-op for a sip of kombucha.
We're making a small batch of a special kombucha for the tasting room, and that's using carrots and beets from Winter Moon Farm.
Join us for those stories and more as we explore the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. Up next on Connecting Point.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us for Connecting Point, your source for creativity, culture, and community. I'm Saivalis Bauer. Every week, we explore all that the region has to offer, and today we're coming to you from the beautiful small town of Brimfield, Massachusetts, on the edge of Hampden County. But our first story today takes us to Hampshire County. Trevor Healy has been building and repairing guitars since 1999. Every week he says he sees an instrument that surprises him in some way, forcing him to take a new perspective with every job he does. One of the perks of the job, however, is getting to play each and every guitar that comes through his shop. He shared his story with producer Dave Frazier from his shop in East Hampton.
I think instrument making is one of those really cool things that just overlaps between two different worlds. It's the physical work that I really enjoy the most, milling a piece of wood, preparing a surface for glue up, doing all those small measurements to put something together that then has a function in the end. You know, I definitely consider myself a craftsperson and a musician versus an artist. We make two different model guitars here, and this one is called the Healer. It's an offset guitar body, so the waist of the instrument is not symmetrical. It's shifted this way a little bit. And then the other instrument is called the Growler. The materials on this are Brazilian rosewood, which a friend of ours brought us that was found in a barn in Hadley. So the material itself is decades old. The headstock face is also Brazilian. The top is pine that I've stained black, and the back and neck are Spanish cedar. I found this space online. I'm in the Eastworks building in East Hampton, and it was affordable enough in the moment that I wanted to start doing my own work that we took a chance, my wife and I, on renting this, and it's worked out well. We work on 10 to 20 instruments a week, whether it's a setup or a broken headstock, a bridge reglue, a crack repair, replacing a bone nut, or just making a guitar more functional. So repair work is a fairly constant thing in our shop, and we build, you know, around 20 instruments a year at this point. How an instrument resonates is a really, really big part of guitar making to me. And as someone who plays instruments, plays guitar and bass, if an instrument resonates acoustically, even if it's an electric, and it gives you back something, you're getting feedback from your belly where it's touching on your leg, in your hands, all of those things are kind of going into your body. The more resonance that an instrument has, probably the more you're going to respond to it and you're going to enjoy it. I've learned things through furniture making and joinery that have taught me how to fit pieces of wood together, how to glue them together, grain orientation for structural issues that might arise in the future because of string tension. So really looking at all of those parts and just kind of figuring out what am I making and why am I making it, who am I making it for, and taking everything from there. Just kind of the sky's the limit. We've now been here for 11 years, made about 100 guitars in this space since then, and repaired thousands of instruments. I think because I'm putting a lot of creative energy into it as well, making something that looks great. It's different than creating a work of art that you put on the wall. It's going to serve its function as an instrument, and that's crucial to me. I would be pretty disappointed if someone ordered a guitar and just put it on the wall and wasn't playing it. So that our instruments are able to be in the hands of people performing and creating their art, I think is amazing.
Every week, Connecting Point explores the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England, but it doesn't stop there. You can find us online anytime for exclusive features and content. And in this week's digital exclusive, Trevor Healy, the owner of Healy Guitars, talks about how he incorporated a unique component into his custom-made guitar that he calls the Healer.
So I asked him if he wouldn't mind making that circuit that I could put inside my guitar. So I have a guitar with the effect built right in.
You can find that digital exclusive online right now at nepm.org/connectingpoint. The Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. And to honor that milestone, they've organized several special exhibitions. Each exhibit pays homage to the late children's book author and illustrator Eric Carle. From exploring collage art by Carle and other artists to showcasing over a century's worth of picture book illustration, the museum highlights the legacy of this art form in many ways. I spoke with the chief curator to learn more.
The word collage actually comes from the French word coller, which means to paste or glue. I think it provided a sense of exploration and color and experimentation that really appealed to him. And so this exhibition really does celebrate the medium in all its forms. Eric worked with painted tissue paper, so in a very flat style. But the 20 artists we selected for the exhibition, we particularly wanted to show the range of what collage can mean and what can be used for collage. It doesn't have to be paper. We have examples of string and blocks and puppets and light, and even one artist who used oatmeal in her collages. So what I think is so particularly wonderful about the show is seeing how artists can transform these sort of disparate, mundane objects into magical worlds. And that really is sort of the basis of collage.
And so another exhibition in this celebration is called Eric Carle Book Birthdays, and several of Eric Carle's titles are also celebrating milestones of their own. How does this exhibit showcase the evolution of Eric Carle's work?
We have 13 books that are celebrating either their 20th, 25th, or 50th anniversary, created by Eric Carle. So it does show the evolution in his work because the earliest pieces are from 1972. Visitors to the exhibition will see that some of those early works from The Very Long Train or Walter the Baker, at that time in Eric's career, he wasn't thinking about the longevity of his artwork. He was creating the art to be photographed and published. So he wasn't using archival materials. He was using rubber cement at the time. He didn't paint his tissue papers as much as he did later. So you'll see a real difference between the early and later pieces in the gallery. For example, Slowly, Slowly, Slowly Said the Sloth, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Those colors are just so vibrant and bold. And that's because in the mid 1980s, Eric consciously switched to archival materials because he started to see what was happening to his older art and wanted to make sure, color was so important to Eric and wanted to make sure that the color would last as long as possible.
What a great perspective he was able to have to preserve these books for years to come. It's crazy to think 50th anniversary celebration for some of his titles. That's amazing.
I know. I just think it must, Eric must never in a million years have imagined that these artworks, these collages he was making in 1972 would one day hang on the wall in a museum that he built.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And so the third and final exhibition included in the celebration is called the Carle Collection Recent Acquisitions. It showcases more than 60 artworks added to the collections over the past years. What is unique about this exhibit? And talk to me about some of the pieces it contains.
The works range. There's over 100 years of representation on the walls. The earliest piece is a Charles Robinson pen and ink drawing from 1899. Up until a work that was created by Astrid Shekels just last year, which is a beautiful watercolor. We have several local artists included in the show, as well as a few international artists. So there's just a great variety.
And there's also a digital component to this as well, correct?
That's right. On November 22nd, which was our actual 20th anniversary day, we launched a new aspect of our website. We put up more than 300 artworks from our permanent collection online, which anybody can see on our website. We do not currently have a publicly accessible database yet, but until then, we really want to be able to share as much of our collection as possible. And this site will continue to grow as the collection grows. But we are really, really so fortunate. We have over 9,000 artworks that we care for at the Carle, and more than 250 artists. So it's not just Eric Carle. We have some other wonderful artworks and artists.
And so looking ahead to the next several decades of the Carle, what do you hope for its future?
Oh, of course, I hope that our success will continue. We will continue to celebrate Eric and his life and his legacy. Our West Gallery is always dedicated to Eric's work. We change it twice a year, so the themes are always different, but we will always be celebrating our co-founder. And we'll continue to bring great exhibitions and programs. We built Bobby's Meadow a couple of years ago, which is a wonderful outdoor space that we hope to program more and more into the future. And I also want to mention that our traveling program has really become so robust over the past few years. We send exhibitions around the world to Japan, to China, South Korea, Germany, across the United States. And we average about 500,000 visitors a year see our traveling exhibitions. So that is another program that I'm very eager to continue doing and sharing all this amazing art with people.
$15 or 20 years ago, kombucha was something that most people had never heard of and probably couldn't pronounce correctly either. Fast forward to today, and this tasty drink known for promoting gut health has become a household word, and in many cases, a household item. In 2013, the Artisan Beverage Cooperative in Greenfield was formed, and in the past 10 years, they've seen their production and coverage area grow by leaps and bounds. Connecting Point's Brian Sullivan visited their brewery in Greenfield to bring us the story.
The sounds of assembly line machinery permeate the air as upside-down cans make their way along the conveyor belt. Each noise seeming to be perfectly timed as this three-man line crew puts together cases of their version of what has become one of the more popular drinks in the world within the past decade. The labels on these barrels say Artisan Beverage Cooperative. But what exactly does that mean?
We're a cooperative that's made up of a Catalyst kombucha, which is a drink that we make, ginger libation, which is an adult ginger beer that we make, and to a small extent mead wines, which are fermented honey. So we, years ago, those three businesses were three separate businesses, and we wanted to put them all under one roof, and we decided to form a co-op.
The co-op dynamic allows for an even playing field among the partners, each having a defined role. For David Karamati, that means running a tight ship out here on the production floor.
Good day is all the equipment is working properly, and not a lot of losses in product, and just everything's working according to plan.
And in the business of brewing, fermenting, and packaging, there's always a plan to follow.
We're kind of always processing. We're either making new product, brewing it, or we're filtering, packaging the finished product. So today we're making a small batch of a special kombucha for the tasting room, and that's using carrots and beets from Winter Moon Farms in Hadley. And we're also canning our local libation, which is just a fall winter special. So it's a mixture of packaging, brewing throughout the week.
The operation is located here in the same building that houses the Franklin County Career Development Corporation at 324 Wells Street in Greenfield. But visitors to the site will realize that the co-op has a little something extra up their sleeves beyond just production. Having the brewery tucked away in the same building that houses the food processing center here in Greenfield has allowed this company to kind of fly under the radar while also making a product for mass consumption. And having this tasting room on the back end of the brewery gives some local fans a chance to get to enjoy the product in the very place that it's made. For me, it was a chance to get a taste of the Concord Grape Kombucha, which I'd heard so much about.
I think it's really helpful to have that connection with our customers. Not a lot of people know where we are, and for the people that do come, they're usually surprised at our tasting room and what we have set up here. And they may be familiar with only one of the brands, like the kombucha, and not know that we also make ginger libation or vice versa. But so it really helps us make a connection with our customers.
And after all this time, this little engine that could is proving to be a formidable contender against some of the bigger producers by expanding their reach around the region, all the while staying true to their local roots.
We consider ourselves a small crafted company that serves we'll call it a 90-mile circle. For the most part, our stuff is mostly found in Western Massachusetts, but we do have a fairly good showing in Boston and Providence and Hartford, most of the surrounding cities, Worcester. We use food distributors, and somehow that makes it possible for our stuff to go all the way to the Canadian border and all the way down to Manhattan. But basically, we're a Western Mass business.
We almost have a little bit of a cult following in the Pioneer Valley, so it's definitely nice to see it, and it's even more of a point of pride when I'm traveling to Boston and seeing it getting out there even further away.
And if you enjoyed that story, you can find more online as one of the ArtBev co-op partners talks about how his background influenced his decision to get into the beverage business in a digital extra.
I've been an avid gardener and like working with food and understanding local food systems. And so while some of our products like the kombucha, which uses sugar and tea, we're not able to get locally, but We're able to, select companies that share similar values.
That digital extra is available online at nepm.org/connectingpoint. Performance poet, playwright, and author Nicole M. Young Martin has over 20 years of experience building her different creative practices, and her latest venture is a web series called Black Writers Read. Born out of a virtual event early in the pandemic, the series provides a platform to showcase, celebrate, and honor the work of Black writers both locally and nationwide. I spoke with Young Martin to learn more about this series and her career across various creative disciplines.
There is power in the personal story. So I lead people in terms of how they can gain confidence through sharing their personal story through writing. But writing is so powerful. Like I've had people who have said to me, "Oh, I'm not a creative writer. I don't do poetry because poetry is this thing." And I'm like, but poetry is not this thing. Poetry is what you make of it. And the writing prompts that I take people through, they're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize this facet of myself." Like there's a writing prompt that I do in some of my writing workshops where I ask people to write a letter to their younger self, and just the things that they realize about their life and their growth in that moment. And I'm like, yes. And writing, it's one of those few times where we get to really spend time with ourselves and really reflect on the growth that we've had, our communities and things like that. So writing can be very powerful.
I mean, how is that for you, revisiting some of these past experiences? Like, is there ever a level of vulnerability and hesitation you have with sharing your personal stories?
Oh my gosh, it's such a great question. I've been working on this for a while now, a memoir on dating, and it has since gone on hold since I've gotten married and haven't had those like trials and tribulations of dating. And some of the vulnerability in that writing is not necessarily about me, but it's about like how what I've done has impacted other people or vice versa. So I get very vulnerable about relationships and writing about how other people influence me, because I, one, don't want anyone to come after me with a lawsuit, but also two, I want to honor the fact that it is the story from my point of view. And when I'm writing, that person is not able to share their story. So I have to dance around a little bit in terms of what I share, from changing names to fictionalizing the story and things like that.
There's another initiative that you've been working on. The pandemic has brought a lot of challenges for people, but it's also brought a lot of opportunity. And in June 2020, you hosted a virtual event that convened 16 Black writers countrywide to talk about their experiences. So what was your vision behind creating this event, and how has that grown since the initial gathering?
You have so many great questions. So Black Writers Read, how it came about. At the time, Trump was looking to host a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th of that year, which is the anniversary of a huge massacre where Black businesses and Black people were murdered in I think 1921 or something like that. And he was doing it in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Myself and a couple of my writing colleagues were tagged on a post on Facebook, and many people know us as activists, and they're like, "Can you do something? Because this is just very disrespectful." And I'm like, okay, what can I do in like a week's time? Because this post came out a week before Juneteenth. And I'm like, what can I do in a week? I am really good at putting on events and convening people virtually. So I put a call out, I posted on Facebook, social media, and I said, everyone just send this out. And what happened, I actually got more than 16 writers to apply to read that evening. But I was like, okay, this event is going to be over 3 hours. And virtual, there's just no way we're going to be able to book everyone that night. And given the impact that event had and the number of people we weren't able to engage that evening, it turned into a monthly web series, Black Writers Read, which officially launched in September of 2020. And how it's grown now, we're now in season 2. And originally it was just going to live like on YouTube and Facebook as a live stream. I was recently approached by a literary publicist who has in her coffer like a slate of writers that she wants to have me interview before their books are published. And it's so many people. And I'm like, okay, what can I do with this now? And I'm like, audio podcast. So I'm now adding an audio podcast. We now feature writers from around the globe. I actually am booking someone who I think is based in Guyana. I booked someone who is based in Portugal. And I also got inquiries from people who are in the UK.
Well, and Black Writers Read is a really great example of one of your initiatives that fosters the talents of other creative individuals. And you've done that a lot throughout your career. You had proceeds from your debut spoken word album, Input Live from the Valley, that created a fellowship program for women and non-binary writers of color. And then you just have this Black Writers Read podcast and series. Yeah. So why is community and collaboration so important to you?
I wouldn't be an artist if it weren't for community and collaboration. There are so many local artists, like, for example, Diana Alvarez, Jason Montgomery, Priscilla Page. If it weren't for their mentorship and them pushing me to do what I do, I wouldn't be here. And so because of that, it's the whole kind of paying it forward. It's like, I need to create other opportunities for other people. And then also, too, in other industries, because I worked in theater and music prior, those are so hard to break into and the pipelines are intense. And even as a writer, the mainstream pipelines in terms of getting published and things like that are intense. And I experienced those myself. And what I'm trying to do is eliminate the barriers that most people experience when they want exposure to their work. So essentially, I'm trying to chisel through the concrete ceiling to open opportunities for other people.
And that does it for this edition of Connecting Point. Remember, you can always find all of the stories that you saw in this episode, as well as exclusive features, digital-only content, and so much more online anytime at nepm.org/connectingpoint. Our thanks to the town of Brimfield for hosting us today. And please be sure to join us again every week right here for more stories of the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. I'm Saidalis Bauer. Thanks for watching and take care.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers. Connecting Point on NEPM is brought to you by Berkshire Museum, presenting Winter Festival Solstice Celebration, featuring Santa Classics by Philadelphia-based artist Ed Wheeler and Hoots Holiday, an immersive Berkshire storybook experience. More information at berkshiremuseum.org.
Minnesota.
Reykjavik.
Yes, you're correct.
Test your knowledge against local high school students during the new season of As Schools Match Wits.
From Nashville, Tennessee, what is the first hall?
Kentucky.
Kentucky, yes, that is correct. Which U.S. state has the capital city of Jackson? Where?
Mississippi.
Mississippi is right.
Play along with us Saturday nights at 7 beginning January 7th.
Math and science for 30, please.
Or stream anytime at nepm.org.
The Watchtowers subconsciously arouse my creative energy.
All these little bits and pieces, they call to me.
This manga needlework, it's not in a book.
I'm always asking, where can I take this?
My work addresses the inner self, how I want to be in the world.
It's that single strand being able to accomplish these great feats.
Find inspiration on Craft in America Friday at 9 on NEPM.
Los tiempos están cambiando.
¿Me has enseñado a no rendirse?
No. Me lo enseñan ellas a mí.
Become a member of NEPM and stream the new season on Passport.
Christmas is my favorite time of year, and the real highlight is the food.
That is delicious.
Oh,
Mary.
I'm going to share with you all the tricks and tips that I've learnt. Absolutely scrumptious.
Mary Berry's Ultimate Christmas, Monday at 9, or stream at nepm.org.
PBS Kids brings the whole world right to us. We especially love Alma's Way. Alma lives in the Bronx with her family. They speak Spanglish. They're all different colors, which is really cool for our kids to see because they don't really look related, but we're all one big family. When your kids see people talking like you and looking like you, it makes them feel like they're a part of something bigger. It's helped them understand themselves, and we really love and appreciate that.
You're watching New England Public Media, WGBY Springfield.
Local broadcast of This Old House Hour on NEPM is brought to you by Wright Builders, celebrating 50 years of institutional, commercial, and residential construction in Western Massachusetts, committed to ending reliance on fossil fuels, lowering operational energy usage, and reducing embodied carbon. Wright-Builders